Gensokyo is spiraling into chaos. Violence, smuggling, and casualties are all on the rise. But who could be the one behind all of this madness? Who could be so heartless and morally depraved to prove their points via the use of senseless violence? Little innocent fairies, of course. Welcome to Touhou Fairy Knockout, one fairy to rule them all. The most pacific and violence-free game about Touhou Fairies for the whole family. All for the modest price of $3 on Steam and made by none other than Touhou fandom famous Mr. Sakayades, because I am sure everyone wished they could play their favorite party game, Super Smash Bros, with Touhou Fairies and even more bullshit sprinkled in it. A small platform fighter about even smaller fairies battling it out to prove who is the strongest of the playground. The story all starts as a bug-catching competition, turns into a plan to start a fairy revolution against everyone in Gensokyo, for like the 5th time this week. But our beloved group of mischievous fairies cannot decide who will be the one among them all to lead the charge and seize the means of Gensokyo's civil liberties. So, since Touhou is too niche in the West to have them apply to join Fortnite, they decide to have their own battle royale across Gensokyo via the use of techniques of ancient martial arts used by Italian plumbers, consisting of stomping on each other's heads while avoiding the greatest enemy to Touhou fans' kind, the water. So they all split off and go their ways all around Gensokyo to fight other fairies and random people trying to stop them from slaughtering each other, while learning at the end of each of their journeys that violence is bad, and if you don't behave well, Santa will absolutely bring you 0 gift and you might die. The basic gameplay is composed of jumping around with your small fairy and either stomping or dashing onto the other fairies to stun them and then hit them again to make them fall into the water. I know, scary stuff for a lot of you Touhou fans out there who refuse to shower, but anyway, if I were to make the shittiest casual gamer analogy in the history of mankind to sum the gameplay up, I'd compare this game to Super Smash Bros. If every single character has the exact same moves and play the same. Oh wait, that's just normal Super Smash Bros. The first mode that you should be playing if you are not exclusive while streaming this game is the tutorial mode, which is, now you say, teaching you the basics of movement, of floating around, dashing, recovery time after being stunned, and all that basic stuff. Alongside the game's special mechanics like character specific abilities, the weather system rigged straight from Scarlet Weather Rhapsody and still as bullshitty as ever, items and how boss fights work. You are able to choose from basically all the mainline Touhou Fairies as your player character, including Lily Black, for all the true Lily Black's fans still existing in the big 2026. But this game has Clownpiece and Lava playable, so I am not in a place to complain. You start with Cirno and Sunny at your disposal and unlock the others via progressively clearing out their story modes, the main and basically only playable mode of this game. Story mode is composed of a series of 5 worlds to travel across, each with 5 stages to clear, with each stage having a certain wave of enemy fairies for you to stomp on and make them take a bath for once in their fairy life, while you witness the small story and journey of each fairy as they rip and tear their way across Gensokyo. The stages progressively get filled with more enemies and a bit more complex stage layouts as you clear them, and they can get quite hectic at times, let me tell you, because unlike in the average fighting platformer where enemy CPUs fight among each other, here they all gang up on having you as your only target, with each zone also having their own unique set of fairies, like the Forest of Magic introducing magician fairies who shoot mini master sparks, or the Palace of Earth Spirits introducing Kasha fairies who summon an immortal clone of them. Even if whoever came up with the Anima fairies as a whole needs to experience the very worst extra stages punishment. Overall, the later stages are tough mainly due to the sheer amount of enemies thrown at you, so expect to take bullshit damage and bullshit deaths, because this game is full of them. At the end of each world, you fight a boss, usually someone who obviously came to stop you because you can't have random kids having a battle royale in the middle of the streets even if it's Gensokyo. There are quite the number of them as they are divided in their respective worlds, and they range from the usuals like Reimu, Marisa, Yomu, and obviously the biggest menace to Touhou Fairies, Okina Matara, since you can't have a Touhou Fairies game without having this wheelchair granny trying to flex on them keys to Aura Farm. All boss fights follow the same format of you having to destroy all of the boss minions, so you can break their shield and damage them by either stomping on them or dashing right into their face for big damage before they manage to regenerate it. And they all spice it up in their own different ways in their attacks or their special mechanics, like Okina's fight having guessed which is the correct door minion to take down before being able to attack the others, but the difficulty scaling among them only ain't that much of a difference depending on what number of world you are on. So I can say that they range on a scale from PC's in Mayumi 20 seconds beat up to if I already hated Sanae before, I hate her even more after playing this game because this fight is total garbage. After you defeat a boss, you will also have an extra 10-second stage where you can break these gachapon machines to ever drop either item consumables or costumes to drip out your fairy with. And this costume, even if generically shared across all the fairies, look really cute. You can even dress up Clownpiece as a bag of chips and that is super awesome, even if you have to collect them one by one for each character and type of costume to probably pen out the amount of game time that the devs wanted to squeeze out of completionists, but at least each fairy has their own little costume recolor to make them unique from one another. At a certain point after World 3, you are also guaranteed to fight one of the 2 guest bosses from other Izakaya Death games. One is a random ass woman who is the final boss of Touhou Blooming Chaos 2, but honestly, who gives a fuck about Touhou Blooming Chaos as a whole? It's not like they abandoned both games linked with bugs that never were fixed, and the other boss is, to no one's surprise, Mr. the Cook and Friends, since Miss Izakaya might as well be the Persona 5 of Touhou Fangames at this point. Also, this fight is kinda ass. These boss fights are okay, I guess. You got some of them which feel super bullshitty, like full abusing the fact that you can get hit another time while recalling me there and die without even being given a chance. You have shit like Ekatia back sniping you as soon as you hit her, or in having horrible minions which are totally immune to dashing and the worst hitboxes I have ever seen, and Mr. taking full advantage of the item mechanic by throwing straight up poison at you that you can't get rid of unless you either eat it or take damage and die. So at the end of the day, you will take damage during this. It's not like you are going to no miss them, you know. You get a rank at the end of each world depending on how well you performed, and getting that sweet test rank ain't that bad in the first worlds, but getting them later is a very dubious challenge to aim for indeed. You also have an alternate way of playing story mode by having random worlds show up instead of the ones predetermined by the character scenario, which is nice for some more casual play, and you can also select the difficulty that you want to play on in story mode, which also changes your number of continues at your disposal. And unlike the Namaku games, you are actually expected to use continues in this game, don't worry too much about it. Also adding some interesting stuff like making you heal less HP after completing a world or stage, or turning boss fights from static arenas to being on the move on normal and above. Talking a bit about the gameplay itself. Jumping is straight up infinite, and it's very floaty to move around, which can be a good and bad thing at the same time, very notable during boss fights, but it's surely way more precise than dashing, and convenient even, since dashing pushes your enemy very far away from you after they hit, so you might not even make it in time there before they recover from the stun. The recharge time depends on the character you are playing, but it's generally a good tool to combo as expected. You also have the option to jump on top of bullets to parry them, which is pretty cool, I guess, even if it's triggered 99% of the time by total accident when it happens. For the special mechanics that spice up the basic gameplay, you have the usual items dropping from the sky during both stages and bosses as expected from 99% of platform fighters out there, and here they are. Interesting. You can only hold one of them at a time with you, and there is literally no button to drop them or delete them. And if there is, either the tutorial didn't tell me or I am too stupid to figure it out on my own. So if you pick one by accident, you are bound to use it if you want to get rid of it and pick up another one. Most of the items aren't even good. The only two ones that have some sort of use are the Popsicle, since it heals you 1 HP, and the Zombier, since it gives you temporary invincibility. But the rest either are too hard to use in the chaos of the fight with you floating around all over the place, or just give such little insignificant stat buffs. Would I ever say that a liter of wooden stick would turn out to be so useless during a stomping fight? Like I said before, the weather system returns from Scarlet Weather Rhapsody and pretty much works almost in the same way as it did the Rensoku. If you don't know how it works, it basically makes it so that every around 10ish seconds or so, a random effect will be applied to the battlefield in the form of weather. And in this game, the range from the scorching sun making fairies bleed to death, I am not joking, to
Zeus summoning a sphere of electricity, I'm the rest.
To the wind effect making you stuck in a corner with everybody else unable to move until it's over. Fun! Just like it was in the fighting games, this system acts more as a general annoyance for the sake of spicing up the gameplay, but at least I can forgive it more here since this game is obviously supposed to be more of a party game and not something to be taken that seriously or competitively. Not that you are ever going to find anyone unemployed enough online to be playing this game with anyway. Each fairy has their own different stats like dash distance, HP count depending on how many pair of wings they have, their jump height and the likes. They also each have a unique charge ability they can launch by using X, but to be honest, basically all of them are pretty much useless since AoE attacks with such a little area of effect don't really work in a platform fighter with such floaty movement, to put it simply. Also, every time you defeat a boss or from the gachapon machines, you can get these boss fragments. If you collect 10 of each for a single boss, you unlock a special bomb ability that you can mod onto your fairy and use in battle, kinda similar to how the already basic fairy ability charge work. You can carry a maximum of 2 bomb skills at the same time. At first, I didn't even understand what they did because the text for them is not even translated, but I guess they are not as useless as the basic fairy ones, as they can actually provide some help like summoning a ball of lasers or making you launch a mini master spark of your own. The issue stems from the fact that by the time you will have unlocked even a single one of them, you will have already cleared all of the 9 story modes of the game, so the average player might not even get to use them that much unless they play this game to get 100% of the stuff. Speaking of achievements, this game has quite the amount of them, with most tied to general story progression like defeating different bosses or achieve at least a B rank in story mode of a specific character. I am at least glad the developers made all of the online play achievements only in game and not present on Steam, since this game has an online and local co-op and versus mode for you to play, a thing that I can't experience and review since I don't think anyone is really going out of their way to host online matches in 2026 for a €3 Touhou Fairy platformer fighter, and I literally have no one to play this game with, nor to get them to buy it. But you could at least try the local mode to work using Steam Remote Play if you convince your friends to play with you as the sole game owner. The main general progression comes from filling out the encyclopedia of the game, which records all of the achievements, enemies and bosses you have encountered, and your costume collection, while also showing you descriptions of the boss attacks and the likes. The costume part is quite the grinding one, and will surely be the last one that you will finish since it's what gives the game the replayability that it has and makes it way longer than someone might expect. Art-wise, I have literally zero negatives to say about it. The Izakaya devs have their own in-house artist that does most of the pixel art in basically all of their games, and they got a lot of experience over the years. While the gameplay and background sprites may look simplistic and are animated at lower frames than initially expected, the cutscene art is simply stunning. Just plain out stunning. Even if with the softer colors they went for, they look gorgeous at times even. There is this weird bug though that at some point, usually in the later stages with around a 70% chance I'd say, all of the player and enemy fairy sprites will bug out and keep on switching between the normal and flying animations at light speed, or sometimes even plain out freeze. This is shit and giggles until you realize that this makes your game frequently stutter if too many fairies are on the screen. A lot. It stutters a lot, and it doesn't go away until the end of your run. Not exactly fun to deal with, you know. Now on to the music. I have to give a huge preface. I wasn't able to get my hands on the MP3 files of this game's soundtrack to edit it in the video as background music, because 1. The host seems to have been taken off YouTube, so I can't download it, and 2. I am too much of a bum to be willing to spend 3 euros on Steam for a YouTube video that 4 people might see at max. So all of the background stuff that you have been hearing up until this point is taken from other sources, which will always be linked in the description. With that said, this game music is weird as hell. The stages 1 are fine, I guess, just really calm tracks that play depending on what word number you're on, but nothing too memorable. The boss themes on the other end. I know this may sound like the most music illiterate comment I have ever seen in one of my videos, as my Touhou status weren't bad enough, but all of the boss themes in this game, excluding the recent one, sound like some sort of 2015 Roblox zombie background music. I am not joking, just listen to whatever the fuck this Sakuya boss theme is supposed to be. I mean, I am just so confused. It feels like that at times I'm watching a Disney Channel music intro instead of fighting a boss. It's not that they are bad tracks, well, most of them at least, but the only game I could ever see these boss tracks fit in is either also weird ass Touhou Friday Night Funky mod with probably very problematic creators as the story goes. This is just not it. I am trying to stomp on a boss as a small little Touhou Fairy. I don't need this funky Fortnite emote electro beat in my ears. Like at this point, just put the most epic and over the top menacing theme and it would fit even more than in any game to give the idea of a boss, you know. Overall, Touhou Fairy Knockout is quite the nice game for the price. I honestly did not expect this amount of content and polish from a small Touhou platform fighter, but I guess this is what I get for wanting to make a smaller video for once. It's a complete game with a lot more content than meets the eye if you are willing to grind for it. So why the hell is this game in Steam Early Access with the last update being 16 months ago? Well, the truth for that is explained in the developer post of that update that released 16 months ago. Apparently, the main dev says that all of the game content has been added to the game, but they are keeping it in early access till all of the translations get completed. Which, I mean, it kinda makes sense since not all of the text is translated in English, but like, why would you keep this game in Steam Early Access for 16 months? Do they even remember that they made this game? As a fellow translator for THCrap on the Italian side of things, I can question that a translation, hell, even a pack of them, takes more than 16 months of dev time. Is there even an advantage to them keeping this game in early access? Would a kind soul down in the comments actually explain how exactly Steam Early Access is supposed to work in these cases? What I am trying to say is that last updated 16 months ago on Steam Early Access does not help on the Steam store page to sell more copies for you, my dear Izakaya developers. Not that someone beside me probably bought this game in the big 2026, but regardless, if you got $3 to spare and a bunch of friends to play co-op with or even in solo, I recommend giving this small little Touhou Fairy platform fighter a shot. Thank you so much for watching until the end of another one of my slop video reviews, and I hope to see you next time. Take care as always, everyone.